school's out for the summer, you've got the kiddos home, and you're noticing the clutter creep. So naturally, you decide the next best thing to do after whipping up a nice cold Dalgona coffee is a weekend purge. But there's a trap most moms fall into when they finally decide to do that weekend declutter. They pull everything out of the space, pile it up in the middle of the room. Halfway through the process, they realize they're standing there sweaty, exhausted, and the room looks worse than when they started. And I don't want that for you. This is summer. We're supposed to be resting, relaxing, having fun with our family. So today I'm walking you through the method I use with my clients as well as in my own home. It's my T.R.I.M decluttering method to help reduce your inventory this summer and decrease the number of things you have to manage, freeing up your time to actually enjoy your summer. The secret to my T.R.I.M decluttering method is that it's built for those tiny pockets of time. Whether you have 5 minutes or 15, you can intentionally improve your space by making 1% progress without ever leaving a messy pile to deal with later. Before we get into it, a quick word on involving the kids. If you're feeling very overwhelmed, it's okay for you to just kind of tackle the space on your own. You can help your kids learn the skill of decluttering at a later time when you feel calmer and your space feels more peaceful. But if you just need a little tune-up, this might be the perfect time to start involving your kids and practice teaching the skill of decluttering. You know your family, so just go with your gut. To get started, you're going to find 2 containers, and these can be pretty baskets or plastic tubs or laundry hampers or even Amazon boxes you have laying around your house. I just suggest that they don't have big holes in it because chances are if you've got younger kids around, it often means there's tiny things laying around too. And we don't want everything falling out of the holes. And it's best if you can either label them or at least be able to tell them apart, because these 2 bins are going to be instrumental in helping you get control of your clutter. The first bin you'll label safety stock box, and you can put this one aside for now. We'll come back to it later in the video. And the other bin is going to be labeled homeless bin. 2 more things to grab before we dive in: a bag for trash and something for donation. For donation specifically, I recommend something disposable, like a paper bag or an Amazon box, not one of your pretty baskets. And here's why. The more you see and touch an item, the harder it can be to let it go. So if you're still trying to build your decluttering muscle, then putting your donations in a pretty basket and then having to transfer it later down the road can give your brain another chance to second guess your decision. But a disposable bag or a recyclable box keeps those items in there, and then you can just pass them off to the donation center without having to look or touch them, and helps protect the choice that you've already made. So these 2 bins, along with your trash and your donation, and then my T.R.I.M decluttering method, are going to be the key players to help you decrease your inventory to a manageable level this summer. So before we get into my full decluttering method, let's address 4 summer-specific things that you can tackle right now to feel immediate relief. First, the end of school paper avalanche. The backpack got dumped on the kitchen island, and now there's a small mountain of papers, half-finished notebooks, broken colored pencils, art projects, and certificates. Go ahead and sort through all of those things. Recycle what can be recycled, trash what needs trashed, and for anything special or keepsake worthy, go ahead and put it in your keepsake bin. And if you genuinely can't decide what to do with it, go ahead and put it in your homeless bin. And friend, this is the perfect project to include your kids in. They get to learn the skill of decluttering and build their decluttering muscle, all while helping you make progress on the pile that's on the kitchen counter. All right, summer task number 2, those lunchbox and backpacks. I want you, as quickly as they come home, to get them emptied. Make sure all the trash is cleaned out. We're dealing with the pile of stuff from the backpack, as we just talked about. And then go ahead and find a place for your lunchbox and your backpack to live over the summer until the next school year. If you plan to use them for things like day camps, then you'll want to make them accessible, so give them a home that's accessible. Here's where inventory comes to play. If you know that that lunch or that backpack is not making the cut for next year, go ahead and get rid of it now. There's no point in holding on to it all summer, only to release it in August once you get a new one. Okay, task number 3, camp swag. Whether it's a day camp or a week-long overnight camp, camp often has a lot of swag. T-shirts, water bottles, lanyards, crafts, and friendship bracelets. As soon as items come home from camp, I want you to deal with them immediately. If it's something reusable like towels or water bottles, go ahead and clean them out and put them back in their home so they're ready for the next one. If it's something wearable like a t-shirt, let your kiddos decide if they're wanting to keep it to wear, or maybe they want to put it in keepsake. And if not, then let it go. Let it move on to the donation center. Last spot to look before summer is in full swing is that outdoor and pool toy space. Take a good look at your outdoors and pool toys. If it is broke or unfixable, get rid of those items. If you remembered that the kids didn't use it from last year, let it go. If that pool noodle is 75% chewed up by your dog, put it in the trash. This is the time to do a quick purge and a quick clean out so that the items that you keep are items that the kids are truly going to use. If you'll tackle just these 4, you will see a noticeable difference. But if you're still feeling the weight of your inventory level after these, then that's where my T.R.I.M decluttering method comes into play. This is a method for sustainable decluttering, the kind that doesn't burn you out because you have a weekend-long marathon. It's the kind that addresses little bits at a time, looking for 1% intentional improvement daily over time in your space. And it's built for moms specifically who don't have time to pull out the entire closet and empty it onto the floor in the middle of the room. So let's get into it. If you haven't done a home reset of like your core living space in the last 24 hours, I want you to go ahead and do that first. Set a 15-minute timer and work to clear the flat surfaces, counters, tabletops, floors. You're simply going to start in one room and you are looking for any items that have a home and just need to get put back. If you pick up something and you immediately know where it goes, I want you to immediately walk it and take it to its home now. Most likely, the item was left out because someone thought, I'll deal with that later. I'll get to that in a few minutes. And that is precisely what this time is for, to deal with it now. To keep the momentum going, it's important that you don't get distracted and don't pick up things along the way. So as soon as you get the item back to its home, I want you to walk straight back to the room that you were originally working in. For any item that you come across and you don't immediately know where it goes, I want you to put it in your homeless bin. A quick rule of thumb, if it takes more than 5 seconds to identify where it goes, just put it in your homeless bin. This quick reset is about speed and making 0 decisions. So you're going to continue in your space until the flat surfaces are cleared. And then you're going to move on to the next space. If it's been a while since you've done a reset, this process will likely take longer than 15 minutes. But no worries, you can always work longer if time allows, or you can continue tackling a few minutes each day. The most important thing to note, once an area or surface is cleared, guard that surface. Protect that area and guard it so that it doesn't get cluttered again. If all you have time today is to clear off the dining room table, that's great. You have intentionally improved your space. But tonight, before you go to bed, I want you to double check and make sure that it has stayed cleared. If it's not, take 90 seconds to gather the couple of items that might have migrated over to the table throughout the day and go ahead and get them to their home. This way, tomorrow when you wake up, you will have maintained the progress that you made. And there's a reason I want you to start with a quick reset in the common areas like the living room, dining room, kitchen, family room, because this creates little micro wins and it also helps reduce the visual clutter, the visual noise that might be competing for your attention. Resetting the things that already have homes enables you and allows you to see the things that need addressed in the decluttering process. So once you've got the main living areas reset, then I want you to keep doing a daily reset in those areas to keep them maintained, and this is when we can transition to the actual decluttering process. My T.R.I.M decluttering method is designed to help you trim back your inventory by helping you declutter in a sustainable way that gives you frequent tiny wins and helps protect you from decision fatigue. If you're having trouble identifying where to start decluttering, I'd encourage you to download my free decluttering guide. I'll drop the link in the description. But in the guide, I share my visible container matrix, which helps you identify the most optional place for you to start decluttering. But for today, I want you to go ahead and choose a small space that you frequently see to start. It might be a drawer, a medicine cabinet, one shelf in a cabinet, an entryway zone, but go ahead and pick a small space that you frequently see. We will eventually get to the rest of the house, but with summer in full swing, the easiest way to get to the rest of the house is by tackling one small space at a time, working in 5 to 15-minute increments as your time allows. Obviously, if you have more time and you've got the energy, keep going, but the goal is to make 1% intentional improvements every day. And the first step of my T.R.I.M method is tossing the trash. Now, this is the easiest when you're looking for obvious trash in your space. Expired coupons, old receipts, snack wrappers, candy wrappers, dried up markers, random screws, the random twist tie that's been in the junk drawer for 2 years. A quick why behind why we start with trash is it's grounded in neuroscience. Research from the Princeton's Neuroscience Institute show that visible items in your field of view actually compete for attention in your brain. Multiple objects trigger neural representation that manually suppress each other in your visual cortex. Translation, every piece of visual clutter is actively taxing your brain at the neural level. So by removing the obvious trash first, it actually gives your brain a little breathing room and removes that stimuli so it's equipped with the task before we ask it to make harder decisions later. So a quick rule, it's okay to take a little peek under things, but we don't want to remove everything out because remember, we're trying to avoid creating a pile of decisions that you have to deal with later. So we're going to leave things in the space. We're going to just pull what we can see. And later on, if you find more garbage, you can always toss it into the trash. Okay, next is R. We're going to rehome the lost stuff. So as you're scanning or going through your space, I want you to be looking specifically for any item that already has an established home somewhere else. I want you to immediately just walk it and put it in its home right now. Remember, organizing systems have 2 parts. The first part is every item needs a home. So if it has a home, it needs to get there, or else your brain is going to keep registering it as visual stimuli, visual friction, and it's going to come across as visual clutter, even if you use the item. So during this time, we're specifically addressing what often is delayed decisions, procrastinating decisions. Sometimes it's lazy decisions. The ones that someone set it down and deferred it and said, I'll get to that another time. I'll put it away later. So to clarify, this step is still not a time for making decisions. These decisions have already been made. You're just executing the task of getting it back to where it goes. This step is continuing the process that we started with trash by removing visual stimuli, by getting items back to their home so that your brain can look at the remaining items and process what to do with them. An item that already has a home has had a decision made about it. We're just returning it. This is zero decision making, it's just action. This step does 2 things for you. 1, it gives you a quick win. You get that item back to its home, there's that reward center of that dopamine hit in your brain starts going. But 2, it shows you what's left in the space. And what's left is usually what we need to deal with in the next step. When you feel like you've rehomed all the lost items, you can go ahead and move on to the next step, which is I. Identify what's serving you. So this is the core of the decision-making process when you're decluttering. The items in your home should be intentional in some way. They should be something you use for function. They should be something you enjoy for beauty. A lot of times it's a combination of the both. But if it's not serving you through function or through beauty, then the item is probably clutter. And so during this stage of identifying what's serving you, we're going to get really intentional about what your life looks like right now in this season. And the items that remain likely fit into one of these 4 categories. My SIMPLI-FI in 60 decluttering guide has the categories listed out, and then you can have it by your side as you're going through. So feel free to download, but for each item, you're going to figure out which of these categories it belongs in, and that'll help you decide what to do with it. So first up, easy one, we're going to talk about obvious donations. These are the items that you see immediately, and you just know they've got to go. The kids' clothes that are way too small. It's a kitchen gadget you swore you'd use but never do and feel guilty every time you look at it and haven't used it since you bought it. Any kids' toys that they've outgrown. These are items that are so easy, you feel really good about letting them go. It's not a hard decision at all. Go ahead and get those into your donation bin. Okay, second category, this is probably the biggest, but these are intentional items that are serving you in this season of life and they need a home. They're floating around visual clutter because they haven't been assigned a home. So here's what I want you to do. If you don't have a lot of time today, anytime you come across an item that you know you're using or you're enjoying and you want to keep, but it doesn't have a home to go to, then I want you to put it in your homeless bin. When your schedule allows, you can come back to the bin and you can go through the process of one at a time assigning the items a home. But if you have time today, I want you to go ahead and start that process for these items today. When you come across one of these items that are serving you, but it doesn't have a home, you can ask yourself a few questions. Where do I typically use this? Or where should I use this? Where do I habitually set this down at? Where would I naturally look for this if I needed it? The answers to these questions are helpful in determining where the item should live. And this kind of gets into our next video when we talk about organizational systems, but let's keep going through the process. So to go ahead and keep the momentum and the 1% progress accumulating, I want you to go ahead and assign it a home. Go put it where you think it needs to go. It can always be moved later, but if it's not where it needs to be, getting it at least in the general vicinity will be helpful to clear up the space you're working in and give you a better idea if you have room in the space that you're trying to move it to. The reason that we're going to go ahead and assign it a home now is because if we're being honest with ourselves, if we're not willing to walk it there and put it away now in this exact moment where the whole point is to intentionally improve your space, then the chances are very slim that you're going to actually do it in the future. So as you're decluttering a space, when you come across an item that you do need to keep because it is serving you, the strategic key is to assign it a home and get it to its new home, because if not, it's going to stay either floating around or stay in its current space making clutter. So the whole intention as we're doing 1% intentional improvement is just deal with each item as you go, removing the delayed decisions, removing the procrastination of I'll get to it later, I'll make that decision later. And on that note, that is exactly what the homeless bin is for items it doesn't have a home. This at least collects and gathers all of your homeless into one bin that maybe you don't feel like you have the energy or capacity to deal with it now, but you can deal with it later on another day. And rather than having like 20 items floating around the house, you've got 20 items in one collected basket, and it just makes things feel a lot more simplified and calmer in your space. So this is why we use that homeless bin. Okay, the third category that you may come across while you're decluttering is finding things that are valuable. Now, this could be in like a monetary sense, like jewelry or a watch or a piece of art, but it also could be sentimental value, like a baby's first outfit or a vacation souvenir. If it's valuable and you want it to stay in your home, you can store it in a protected way to preserve the value. Think like keeping a signed baseball in an acrylic box to help hold the value. If it's something that's sentimental value, you can keep it in your keepsake box. Or things of value you may choose to sell. Now, sometimes you might come across like a family heirloom or something that's been passed down in the generations and you are grateful, but you really don't want it in your house. Consider if whether offering it to other family members could be a good option rather than selling it. The point here isn't a quick gut decision. In fact, I do not like to push my clients to make really quick decisions because regret is real. But you can make a quick decision on where it goes right now. You could put it in your keepsake, you could put it in a safety stock box, or find some protective storage for it. But the most important thing is if it's in a main space, we can at least get it out of that space to a holding zone until you can make a decision at a later time. Okay, the fourth category can be the trickiest, but it also has a really easy backup solution. So these are the I'm just not sure items. These are items that don't cleanly fit into one of the other categories, and often it's the items that trip most of us up. These are the items that fit into what if I need it one day, or what if I could use it one day. It's the possible scenario items, and decision fatigue can really start kicking in hard here in this category of item. So if you come across an I don't know item while you're decluttering, I recommend a couple things. First, before you start decluttering, actually, you can set some guidelines or parameters. Many people find it helpful to come up with a rule like if I can replace it for less than X amount of dollars within less than X amount of time or within driving X amount of distance from my home, then I will let the item go. You get to set the parameters and then you get to let the rule hold the weight. And so in the moment, it's not your emotions making the decisions, it's the rule helping guide your decision making. And so that can be really helpful, especially on things that are not like one of a kind. They're mass produced, it's easy to come by. That can be a great rule to help you there. But if that feels too restrictive, you can also use some of these questions to help take the emotional weight and kind of switch to your logic side of your reasoning as you're making these decisions. So if you get stuck on an item, you can run through any of these questions in any order. And the first one is, did I even remember I had this? If the answer is no, that is like the strongest signal. If you didn't even remember that it was there, you're likely not going to miss it in the future. When did you last use it? If it was last week, then that's a strong signal that you probably want to keep it. But if it was more than 6 months, more than a year, more than 2, consider, do you think you would miss it if you haven't used it in that amount of time? You can also consider, like, if a use for this item came up, would I go looking for it? Like, I use the example of ice cream scoops in our home. We don't own an ice cream scoop, but when it is time to serve ice cream, I don't go looking for an ice cream scoop because I just always use a big serving spoon. It's personal choice. We've eliminated it in our current setup because we don't have a ton of drawer space in this home. And so for this season, that's a choice. And I don't have to think twice about it. Does this item bring any negativity or guilt or shame? If the answer is yes, then try unpacking why that is. Because our stuff should lift us up, not weigh us down. Lastly, does it need maintenance? Is it sitting around not being used because it needs batteries in it? Go ahead, replace the batteries. Does a part need glued back on? Does it need mending? Go ahead and fix it now. If it's not important enough to fix today, or if you need to order batteries and it's not important enough to fix right away as soon as the batteries come in, then there's a strong likelihood that this item isn't serving you in this season and is a strong candidate for letting go. These questions are designed to help remove some of the emotional weight behind the item and to turn on the logical reasoning with your decision making. But what if you go through all the 4 questions and you still don't know what to do with the item? Then I have a tool for that, and it's called my safety stock bin. So think of this as your just in case bin. You're going to remove the item from your main living space so your eyes don't see it on a daily basis. And by putting the I just don't know items into your safety stock bin and moving the bin out of line of sight, either in your garage or your attic, or maybe in the back of a closet or at the top shelf of a closet, this allows your brain to function day to day without seeing the item. But if in a week or month or even year from now, you go, I need that thing that I put in there, you can come easily retrieve your item from your safety stock bin. It's there. There's no risk. There's no loss. You didn't get rid of the item. There's no regret. You've got what you need. And here's why this works. When your brain sees an item sitting out every single day, it starts registering that it needs the item. It gets used to it in the space. And our brains have this funny way of interpreting, I saw the item, therefore I must need the item, even if you don't need it. So instead of forcing the decision to donate or trash the item right now, by putting it in the safety stock box, you're just removing it from your day in and day out visual line of sight. And because it's not in your daily field of view, your brain stops registering it as an item that is just expected to be in your home. And in 3 months, when you haven't used the item, your brain has had time to detach from seeing it in your living space that it can more easily let it go. So the safety stock bin gives you permission over time to release items that you aren't using without having to force a decision today. And it keeps the momentum going in your space so that you can clear out of the main area the things that you're not using, but you can still keep the items that you're not ready to make a decision yet on today. I recommend using an opaque container to be kept out of reach and out of eyesight. Maybe in the garage or the attic, or if you're needing temperature control, keep it maybe in the back of a closet or on the top shelf of a closet. And if it's helpful, you can do a little post-it note on the outside with what's in it or the expiration date that you predetermined. This gives your brain time to stop seeing the item on a daily basis so you can make a clear decision on whether you need the item or not. Now, the homeless bin is different. This needs to stay out in your daily rhythm and flow. You and the people in your family need access to the homeless bin. It needs to live where everyone can reach. So as you and the kids are doing a reset in the evening or afternoon, if anybody finds something you don't know where it goes, you just drop it in the homeless bin. You don't give it a second thought, and you don't have to deal with it right then. And then like once a week or once a month, or when the bin gets full, then you can go through it. Then you can sit down and deal with each item as you need to. If it hasn't earned a spot in your home and you're not sure whether it needs to stay or go, it can just move to your safety stock. Okay, the last step in my T.R.I.M decluttering method is mind the limits. Now we talked about this recently, but your home has physical limits. Your drawers, your shelves, your bins. These are all containers and they all have physical boundaries. If you respect those limits, your home will never feel overstuffed or overshoved. A good rule of thumb to help you mind the limits is if an item doesn't comfortably fit in the container, you either need to get rid of something to make room for it, or you need to find a new home for that item. Remember, you should never have to cram or shove or stuff or play Tetris to make it fit. Let your container do the hard work of keeping the boundaries for you and let it inform you when the limit's been reached and when there's too much stuff. One word of caution, the time, energy, effort, and work that you're putting forth to get this checkpoint in check can immediately be undone with one shopping trip to your local bullseye store. You know the one. I want you to feel the rest that comes with having a home that you can manage this summer and to be able to enjoy your kids in the season while they're at home. But frequent shopping is one of the easiest ways to undo any progress that you make on the inventory dial. So before you bring any new items home this summer, try to determine exactly where that item is going to go before you get it into your home. We'll talk more on that next week as we talk tips and tricks for getting your organizational systems set up in place. I am so excited to hear about the work that you do as you reset your space. Please make sure to share your wins, whether it's big or small. I want to celebrate every win with you. Until then, I'm rooting for you. Bye.